Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time visiting my channel or stumbling on one of my videos, welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you for coming back to my channel and watching this video. In today's video, as you can see by today's title, I will be talking about the best time to move to Arizona or the Phoenix, Arizona area. I have been living in Phoenix, Arizona for almost 4 years. My husband and I, we relocated from Iowa to Arizona, and it has been honestly just one of the best decisions we've made. We absolutely love it here. And one of the things, as I look back, I try to think of a few things that could have truly helped me during our relocation or move to Arizona. And one of the things that keep popping up is, what would have been the best time to move? So if you're thinking about moving to Arizona, this video is going to be helping you get an idea of when potentially could be a great time to move. Obviously, it's if you have the ability to do this. Obviously, there's a lot of people who may not necessarily have the choice to pick a certain time in the year that they move to the Phoenix, Arizona area. But if you are in that boat and you have a lot more control on when you move, hopefully this video can help give you some insights on when to do that. All right, I am going to have 3 talking points, and these 3 talking points will be for 3 different categories of people. The first category of people will be people who are moving to Arizona to either live with friends or family or relatives and don't need to necessarily look for housing or where to settle on their own. And the second categories of people are people who will be relocating to Arizona to rent. And the third and final category of people are people who are moving to Arizona to buy a house to live in. Meaning if they're moving, they're buying a home or they're moving into a home that they've bought in Arizona. All right, for category person number 1, you're moving to Arizona to come live with friends, family, relatives, and you don't necessarily have to figure out what time of the year it is to look for housing. You are probably in the best case scenario. Go ahead and move to Arizona whenever your heart desire. I will say though, if you're moving with a lot of, materials, items, clothing, your personal belongings, I will recommend to try to avoid the summer months. However, if you really don't have that flexibility of moving it to maybe a more cooler month period, I will say, just go ahead and move whenever you want to. But if you have the control to do that, try to stay away from the really hot summer months. But if you have family who are willing to help you do that move and things are going to be a lot easier, absolutely. I understand that the summertime is always like a good time for people to move or relocate because of either the summer holidays, school is out. Honestly, it may not necessarily be the best time to move to Arizona, and I will kind of share a few reasons why. But yes, so for category 1 person, if you don't necessarily have to look for housing or you don't necessarily have to find a place to rent or a place to buy and you already have housing lined up, absolutely go ahead and do your move whenever it is that works best for you. Category 2, people who are having to rent or find a rental place to live in. I will say, obviously, the rental prices varies day by day and just how the market fluctuates based off of supply and demand. So obviously, we do know that if there's a lot of demand for rental properties, if there's a lot of demand, obviously the prices is gonna hike up, especially if the supply is not able to meet up with that demand. And obviously, during the seasons where the demand is pretty low, we would tend to see prices of rent tends to go down. In Arizona, or let me not say Arizona, in Phoenix specifically, I and my husband, we are OG renters, so we kind of have figured out the best time or really good time to kind of get in the market if you're looking for a rental property or rental housing. I will honestly say, for your sanity, if you are going to be moving your belongings and you are renting, please try to avoid the summer months. Other than the fact that they are just hot and brutal to just move in general. And this is also going to apply to category number 3, which is people who are coming to buy a home. If you can avoid moving in the summer, you will be thankful for it. my husband and I, we have done our best to adjust our lease renewal time frame or move-in time frame away from the summer months, just because it has absolutely been our least favorite time to move. It's not convenient, it's not enjoyable. Yes, you're gonna try to stay hydrated, but it's just not that great. And we don't even have a whole lot of things when we're moving. So if you can avoid the summer months, yes, I will recommend avoiding that. Now, when it comes to rent pricing, the rent prices tend to be more favorable just a little bit after the summer months. So going into August, yes, there's some different areas that during the summer months, if you're able to lock in the pricing of the summer months, do it. Because yes, we tend to see lower pricing during the summer months, just because yes, there might be a lot of people who are not necessarily trying to move in the summer, and so we tend to see that there isn't a whole lot of demand to move into, you know, apartment complexes or, you know, rental properties during the summer. So we might tend to see rental prices go down. However, I will say the summer is kind of like the perfect time to start looking, not necessarily the perfect time to start moving. So if you can find a rental property or rental place or apartment, condo, whatever it is you're looking to rent, if you can lock in that price, especially during those summer months going into the fall, that's when a lot of the rental prices tend to be at their lowest. So if you're able to lock in those prices at that time, even if you're scheduling your move to be maybe 2 months out, I do know that there's a lot of rental properties or rental places that don't allow you to rent too far out. They tend to be open within like a 60-day mark period. So maybe you're only able to book or, you know, lock in a place, maybe 2 months out or 3 months out maximum. But go ahead and check that with different apartment complexes and see what their regulations are. However, I will say that if you're able to lock in those rental prices, definitely do that. It will save you a whole lot of money. And if you know you want to be staying there for longer than 12 months, try and see if you can negotiate the longest term lease they can offer to you for the best price. Because I know that there is a lot of apartment complex that will be willing to work with you in those different areas. We have been lucky enough to be able to negotiate a few things, whether it's concessions that apartment complexes were able to give, whether it's, I know one of our previous places we lived in, we were able to get a really good price on rent, and also we were able to get free Wi-Fi and cable, I believe. So I know there's a few concessions that apartment complexes or, you know, rental agencies tend to give. So make sure you're looking out for those concessions, because it could save you a whole lot of money. Because if you think about it, Wi-Fi on a month to month, it could be around like within $100 or just under, depending on the household or how much bandwidth you need for your house. You know, those prices may fluctuate, so being able to get it for free is kind of a good deal if you ask me. So I will say that definitely look at those concessions and see how you can lock in those prices, especially during the summer. If you are going to be moving during the winter, however, even if those are the most ideal months to move in, they tend to be more on the pricier side, just because during the winter, that's when a lot of people are trying to move to Arizona. Obviously, we have snowbirds coming in. People are coming for holidays and vacations to Arizona or Phoenix, Arizona area. So prices tend to hike up a bit. So if that's something that you don't necessarily care about, definitely go ahead and move during that season, just because you're actually going to enjoy moving then, because the weather is a lot more favorable. All right, category number 3. Those are the people who are moving to the Phoenix, Arizona area to buy a home or move it into a house that you recently purchased when you were trying to move. Now, I know that realtors and, you know, the housing market has been fluctuating and things are changing, and I know a lot of recommendations tends to be you should start looking at where you would potentially want to live between 6 months to a year. Sometimes you're able to find something shorter. So obviously you can travel, come down here, look at the housing market, work with a good realtor or real estate agent, see how they can lock you into your property. However, I cannot really necessarily talk about the prices of the housing market, just because it fluctuates a lot, and to be honest with you, I am not too knowledgeable about just the housing market rates and how things continue to change. Obviously, I do understand supply, demand, and pricing, but I will say that, you know, the market is starting to be a bit more favorable for the buyer right now. So if you are probably potentially looking to move to Arizona, honestly, the inventory is starting to come back up, just because we're also kind of keeping our eyes out and looking to see if, you know, if it would make sense for us to buy a property or, you know, move into our house. So that is kind of honestly tentative to what works for you and your family. But I will say, make sure that you have a really good real estate agent, or, you know, whoever it is you're working with in the area to help you find a home. And if, like I said in other videos, if you can avoid moving, especially to a house, just because there's usually a whole lot more stuff you're moving into a house versus like an apartment per se. So if you're able to avoid moving in those summer months, you will honestly be lucky and just happy that you avoided those months, because they tend to be very, very dreadful during moves. But if that's something that you honestly don't really care about, I will say that, you know, go ahead and do what's best for you and your family, and whatever schedule it is that works for you. I know that a lot of people, there are going to be some people that probably may be moving into the Phoenix, Arizona area because they have some jobs lined up and need to start right away. So they don't necessarily have control over when they move. I will say though, if you do have control on when you're moving to Phoenix, Arizona area, try to just avoid moving in the summer months, just because they are just not great. It is not convenient. It's not fun. It's very brutal on you, especially if you're moving to the area and you've just not experienced this kind of summer heat that we do have in Phoenix. You will just not be happy. It's honestly not going to be like the best transition into the area. But if that's something, like I said, you don't really care about, definitely go ahead and opt for it. A few bonus points I will say, like I always say in all my other videos. If you can get a job or career lined up before moving to Arizona, you will be thankful you did that, just because it just eliminates the anxiety and stress of having to find a new job, especially when you've moved into a new city and you don't know a whole lot of people or really know how to navigate things. It helps to know that you at least have a job lined up. You're able to meet people from work and they're able to give you and share a lot of recommendation about the area that could really, really come in handy, especially when you're moving to somewhere new. I will also say, if you don't have a job lined up and you're still moving, definitely make sure you have enough savings just in case you're not able to land something right away. I know that's always just an advice, a pointer that I give to people. It's just because I have met and seen people who have relocated to the area with some career opportunity lined up versus those who haven't, and definitely there's typically a big adjustment difference between the two. So if you're able to get a job before moving over, a lot of companies, depending on where or what industry you work in, they tend to offer a relocation package. So that could potentially be something that could really, really, really and truly help with your move when coming to a new city. Well, I hope this video helped. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.